Hello and welcome to the channel. My name is Kubeir. I'm a CICC licensed immigration consultant. I don't know why I need to keep reminding that, keep saying that again and again. You already know that, right? We do this every week, weekly roundups. We talk about Canadian immigration. We talk about immigration news, updates, things that are happening within the Canadian immigration world, which may be rocking it or which may be cradling it, soothing it. You as a stakeholder, of course, you're a stakeholder because if it was not for you, then there is no purpose of the Canadian immigration process, right? Because you, the applicant, is the one who wants to immigrate to Canada, and that's how it rolls. Uh, today's main component for this stream is the frauds that are prevalent in the immigration field, and there are so many of them, and a lot of them are, I mean, it's not like it's only new now. Of course, there are frauds in every industry: insurance, mortgage, real estate, you name it, IT, you name it. There are frauds, all kinds of frauds in every industry, of course, right? Wherever there would be any kind of process, there would be people who would try to manipulate it, who would try to break the law, who would try to go around the whole process in order to gain advantage for themselves or for their clients, or whatever, however you wish to sort of phrase this. So the frauds are always going to be there. The immigration frauds are obviously have also been there since immigration was the first process. I mean, if you actually see, initially when people would travel from one country to another country, the whole process of taking money and taking you there, not only for the transportation but also to get you through the whole process, was always existent. So with the immigration, of course, the frauds have always been on the rise. But lately, we're seeing more and more and more of the news coming in about these people getting caught. Now, I know some of you are going to sort of talk about LMIAs. We'll talk about certain countries, certain states of certain countries, certain segments, but this is not about picking up on any community. This is not about picking up on any country. This is not picking up upon any state, or for that matter, anybody for that matter. It's just about collective fraud. This is about collective misinformation. This is about collective you to be aware as to what you can, what you cannot do, what you should, what you shouldn't do, and just by and large be aware of what's happening so that you can save yourself. Forget about everybody else, right? We can always say, oh, that person is a cheat, this person is a fraud, this person did this. But at the end of the day, it's you who's suffering. It's you who is paying the price. And it's you, only you, who needs to be aware, who needs to be safeguarded, who needs to be smart, who needs to watch out for all these things, so that you're not the one who makes to the news, and you're not the one who is at the losing end of things. So because you're on this channel, hopefully you'll get better information. You are more informed, you are smarter than the rest, and that's why you're going to press that subscribe button on your screen so that you can get these news and updates as and how they happen. Before I get on to the main subject, of course, let's quickly run through the weekly roundup and see what's been happening in the field of Canadian immigration. Okay. As usual, there'll be regular topics of discussion. And while we will go there, please do not do any super chats. I have limited time today. I will try to take as many questions as I can, but please do not do super chats because I will not be able to accommodate all the questions anyway. So that's one that. British Columbia had the draws on July 30th. Of course, you already know about this one. I think this is a bit of a backdated one. British Columbia continues to conduct the draws. And then on the week of August 4th, Manitoba has conducted draws, inviting more than 144 candidates, inviting 52 in a general draw that consider those in skilled worker, international graduate streams, entry level and semi-skilled streams, and then requiring a minimum score of 132 for the entry. No, this is not Manitoba. Sorry. It's British Columbia. I think the label up there is incorrect. So the minimum score of 132 being very, very high there for BC. As you can see, right? BCP and P held 4 draws. Sorry about that. Alberta held a draw on the 30th of July. Now, Alberta obviously does not announces its draws real time, so they will not inform you about the draw as and when they're happening. They inform it to you a few days later. So on 30th of July, they did hold a draw, but this was for the job offer stream in dedicated healthcare pathway. And 54 candidates were invited with a minimum CRS score of 300. Quebec, on the 1st of August, invited PNP candidates, of course. We call it PNP, but actually it's not PNP because Quebec has a separate immigration program. So while it's still a province and it is still a separate program, so it's PNP, but they are not doing any PNP program. So yeah, it's a bit of a contradictory stuff there. So they invited 1,490 people to apply through the ARIMA portal, and the minimum score was 580, and you required level 7 French to be eligible, as well as having a job offer. So not only did you need level 7 French, you also needed a job offer outside the Montreal area. Express entry, we didn't have anything in express entry, though we are anticipating some draws hopefully in the coming week. Fingers crossed. Now, because there have been express entry CEC draws, so therefore the expectation now is that there could possibly be the category draws back in action. Now, of the category draws, I think the ones that people are most anticipating and most hopeful for is the STEM category at this point of time. Of course, by now you already are aware that there was the can I pull that up, guys? Let me see if I can. Give me one moment. No, I can't pull it up. Okay, this is my last week's presentation, so I'm just going to pull it up and see if I can find what I wanted to show you. I can. Hold on. This one. So these were the category quotas of 2024. And in this, as you can see, STEM occupations was indicated to be 25% of the total quotas that would be invited in 2024 in terms of the categories. So far, we have seen only one draw, which is quite surprising, and that also was not a very big. I mean, yeah, it was a big number comparatively. I think about 4,500 guys, was it? Yes, I think it is 4,500, and that very number of invitations issued. So it's nowhere close to what you would consider as the 25% of invitations. Now, IRCC has also indicated in the past that of the total number of invitations that they issue, the total, when they have categorized and said, okay, we're going to issue to STEM so many people, to healthcare so many people. So people who are getting invited under CECs, under general categories, if they are eligible under those STEM on healthcare, then those are accounted as those having received, and therefore 25% quotas would go there as well. However, even then, it looks like STEM has been largely ignored, considering the allocation was 25%. Now, if there has been any changes in the back end, if there have been any changes on the IRCC's policies, of course, we do not know, because these ATIP notes that were obtained has been earlier this year, I think about March. That is when this ATIP notes, or April, I think. That's when the notes were obtained. And as you can see in this specific quotas, there is no mention of CEC. It just says general, French, healthcare, STEM, trade, transport, agriculture, etc. Now, even when it says general, of course, that includes the PNPs, that includes your CECs, that includes your FSWs. At least that's how initially IRCC was conducting the general draws. And then they switched. to PNPs and Canadian experience class. So yeah, that's a bit of a we don't know as of right now. We do not know how they are calculating. We don't even know whether you can rely upon these quotas anymore, or these targets anymore or not. But there it is. It's in front of you. So STEM, I am assuming, is something which you would expect, at least in category draws. So since there have been CEC draws, there have been PNP draws in the recent past, therefore the expectation is high that this next week could be the category draw week. Now, I think a couple of weeks back, there was already, not a couple of weeks, a few weeks back, there was already a healthcare draw, there was already a francophone draw. There has been a trade, I think. Yes, let's just pull that up as well. Where this go? Okay, hold on. I think there was before, because we're just sort of, speaking in the air and don't want to do that, right? Take this here. Yeah. Okay, so this was the round of invitations. If I pull this to the previous rounds, okay, let's see. CAC draws, of course, have happened 6,300, 5,000, two big draws in a span of 1 month itself. And then there was another CAC draw earlier of 3,000. So they've already given out some big numbers in CACs. PNP programs, again, instead of going to general category, they have started going PNP, CAC kind of a thing. There has been a French language here, and then there was a French language here. So Francophones have been taken care of. Healthcare draw has already happened here already. And then transport happened earlier in March. Then there was nothing. STEM happened in April with 4,500, as I was telling you. So yeah, trade occupations has happened on the 4th of July, which was actually due for a very long time. They didn't hold a draw earlier anyways. So yeah, if 4th and 5th July you saw healthcare and trade, maybe it's time for a STEM to show up right around the corner. Of course, there is also transport and agriculture. That is, but again, agriculture, the invitations are only 150. With transport, you had only 975. But then overall, in the quotas, as I was just talking to you earlier, they didn't have a big standing anyways, right? So if you see trade, you have 5%, transport, you have 3%, agriculture, you have only 0.5% of the ITAs. So it's understandable that the number of ITAs are not that large, or the draws could, you're probably looking at about 2 draws in best case, 3 draws in the whole year. So let's see how that rolls. But yes, opinion wise, in my opinion, I think there should be a category based draw around the corner. Certainly a possibility that August's express entry draws might see a start with the category draws. So next week, hopefully, we can see some good stuff happening over there. What else do we have? We have other news. Alberta. Now, Alberta, I'm not sure how many of you are aware. Alberta recently had, not recently, I mean, a few months back, March, April, I think, they had paused the intake of their applications under the opportunity stream, under most of these streams, because obviously they wanted to revamp the system. Then 2 months back, they came back and said, okay, each month we will be accepting on 1 day applications for all these streams: the Alberta opportunity stream, accelerated tech pathway stream, hospitality and tourism stream, and I think there was one more stream. I forget the stream. The rural renewal program stream, of course. And they said only on 1 day we will accept applications from all these streams, and we will have specific quotas that we have assigned for all these streams for the rest of the year. So each month on 1 day, we will accept the applications. And what was happening is that because there are so many people out there who are very interested in Alberta, because Alberta has been very actively promoting move to Alberta kind of a program, and therefore there were a lot of people who wanted to move to Alberta, and therefore Alberta has had a very good program. What that was doing is, for example, in Alberta opportunity stream, you had only 430 application spots available, and there would be like 10,000, 11,000, 12,000, 15,000 people waiting for the intake to submit their applications. And of course, as you can imagine, as we already know, the historical evidence is there, historical precedence is there in terms of how these systems crash when they're trying to allow people to make the submissions on one intake day. And therefore, as anticipated, Alberta systems have been crashing with the sheer number of people who wanted to apply. So what Alberta did finally, thankfully, because this is so much more better and smarter to do it. I know a lot of you will not agree with it because, of course, this puts you on the losing end, but system-wise, this makes more sense. So what they've done is now they have reverted to or rather, they can't be even to revert it to, but they've launched the new expression of interest system. So what does expression of interest system mean? Expression of interest system basically would mean that everybody who's interested, everybody who's eligible creates their profile, enters into the pool, just like express entry, okay? Just like express entry, just like OINP international student stream, just like OINP employer job offer stream, just like BCPNP program. All these are expression of interest based system, whereby you express your interest saying, yes, I'm interested to apply. Yes, I am eligible. Yes, this is my profile factors. Based on all of this, you get points. And once you get points, then the province can choose which are the top ranking profiles and then invite people based on that. Therefore, then being in a very structured manner, being able to assign invitations. Good stuff in terms of the process. Bad stuff in terms of people who may not be able to score high. All this while, Alberta Opportunity Stream, anybody who was eligible could pronto apply. Now it's not the same anymore. It basically means you will now be ranked based on your profile, based on your scores. We don't know the ranking factors yet because they haven't announced. This will be they will be launching the system from the 30th of September, and they have therefore now put all other application intake on hold. So there will be no intake in August. Of course, there will be no intake in September, October, and as we move forward, it will all start. It will all come down into the new expression of interest system on the 30th of September. By that time, I'm hoping we would also have a better indication of what the profile factors are based on which you will get your points and you would be able to create an expression of interest. In some cases, you may have an opportunity to improve your profiles, and in a lot of cases, you just may not be able to do anything about it anymore. Overall, process-wise, as I said, good system, good way to go about it, because it gives opportunity to everybody instead of being able to fastest finger first and then being able to make an application. So a lot of good candidates get left out. But in this scenario, in the expression of interest system, what happens is that the top ranking profile, express entry, everybody knows, right? If scores of 510s are going to happen, then imagine what everybody else is going to feel like. Similarly, that's what's going to happen with Alberta as well. If they want to only choose 430 people each month, can you imagine what the scores are going to look like and how many people are going to get left out? All those people who obtained an LMI or studied in Alberta, completed their education, got the job that they needed, then found the employer who's going to support them, had them sign the employer form, did everything that was required all this time, and then Alberta comes and changes the system. But this is also very, very has been a prevalent feature this year. Changes, right? You prepare for something all this time. So for example, Alberta Opportunity Stream, before you needed 1 year of work experience, and people were at it trying to get that 1 year of work experience in, and then or 6 months of experience if that was applicable to them, if they were under that stream. And then just before you were able to complete and before you were able to submit, or before you were able to press the submit button and pay the fee, the system changed. Then they said, okay, we will pause it. And then you were on those, your nerves are all stretched up, and then happened the intake system. And then you just could not submit your application through the intake because they were all glitched up and flooded. And then again, they have changed it to the expression of interest system. Similarly, Prince Edward Islands, people moved from all over the country because they were not able to get PNP options elsewhere. So they moved to Prince Edward Islands. What did Prince Edward Island do? Because, hey, it's not their fault. They were clogged up. Imagine having only 2,500 as the annual immigration quotas, and you have 15,000 people already submitting their expressions of interest. What are they going to do? Yukon, nobody wanted to go there. Northwest Territories, nobody wanted to go there because it was so cold and it can get so difficult. But when people started moving there because there were no PNP options, what did they do? May, Yukon closed the program. June, Northwest Territories closed their program, said we can't handle any more applications. We've already completed our quotas for this year. So similarly, always bear in mind that you can prepare and plan for a PNP program, but they can change whatever they have to, whenever they have to, depending on the market priorities. Ontario is no stranger to that either. For example, in their skilled trade category, right? A person may have been planning for a very long time to gain that work experience, and then Ontario does not choose that specific NOC code. Happened with welders earlier, right? They decided not to include it, then they decided to include it, then they removed it again. Same thing with telecommunication installers. They removed it, they included it. So you just do not know what's happening. It's just become like a sheer game of luck in addition to the fact of you having to score very high. So overall, the dynamics of the programs across Canada are changing. The more aware you are, the better prepared you are. You probably will be able to utilize that in a better manner. Okay, what else have we got here? So that's what's happening with Alberta. Permanent residence class is proposed for semi-skilled worker. Now, this happened a few weeks back, and we did make a video about it in terms of the Instagram, and I'm sure you already know. So what IRCC is now proposing, they're proposing an amendment to IRPA. IRPA is Immigration Refugee Protection Act, where as of right now, under the economic programs, by and large, you have tier categories 0, 1, 2, 3. The only place where you have tier categories 4 and 5, and as an economic program, that is your RNIP and AIP. Now, RNIP and AIP, though they are federal programs, but they are restricted to certain geographical locations. AIP is restricted to the Atlantic provinces. RNIP is restricted to certain rural communities across Canada. So far, there were 11. Now, when the RNIP program will relaunch, I think next month, then they would have some new communities there as well. So they were these were federal programs, but restricted in terms of the geographical location. But these were the only programs which had, on the federal level, tier category 4 and 5. Now they're proposing to have a much larger program. Now, this again becomes a very serious subject of debate. I mean, though, again, with all respect to tier categories 4 and 5, and I'm sure so many of them would really need this pathway. Similarly, candidates on tier categories 0, 1, 2, 3 are just like scratching their head as to, we are skilled, we did the education, we worked hard, and yet no program for us. And here IRCC is preparing a program for tier category 4 and 5. And here tier categories 4 and 5 are saying, hey, we do the dirty work, we do that hard laborious job which nobody else is interested in, and yet we are not offered a program. About time something is done for us. So this debate has always been there. It's going to become more prevalent when IRCC then announces the final changes and the final launch of this new pathways, which will be for tier categories 4 and 5. Of course, absolutely. Tier categories 4 and 5 is not for foreign skilled worker or federal skilled worker program. This is going to be only Canadian experience class. So you would have to have work experience in Canada to be eligible under tier categories 4 and 5. Whether a job offer will be required here or not, I don't know at this point of time. This is just a proposal. It hasn't been launched. We are expecting somewhere in fall. When I'm saying fall, that is just about the corner, right? About next month, September, October is when this will be launched. That's when you will have a better understanding of how this program plays out. But something to keep your eyes open on. That's basically all I have. Connect with us on social media platforms, YouTube, Instagram, of course, Twitter, and all over the place. And of course, hit the subscribe button, like, share, follow, whatever you do otherwise. But let's come to the main subject for today, okay? And let's see, where is that? This is where it is. So what is happening is, we're talking about the immigration frauds, right? The immigration frauds, which is like really plaguing so many people. So the reason why I chose this subject today is because my colleague, which is from our immigration office in Dubai. So Ask Kubeir also has a branch in Dubai, right? And my colleague over there sent me an article from Khalij Times in Dubai saying that a couple basically camped outside an immigration agent's office in UAE because of the money that they spent. They spent 40,000 Canadian dollars when they were promised immigration. Then they were promised immigration through Atlantic Immigration Program, and then through some other program as well. And 3 years, nothing happened. And now the agent is refusing to refund their money, and there's no answer. So this couple then decided to camp outside that agent's office for 4 days. They sat there outside the office, refusing to go. Nothing happened. Even then, nothing has happened. So at least I don't know if anything has happened. But things like this have become extremely common in so many places. So let me just show you very quickly. No, not this. Sorry. This one. Yeah, so this is what couple camps outside the immigration firm for 4 days over failed Canadian residency promise. This is a very latest one. It just came yesterday, I think, or last updated. So Saturday, August 10th, just most recent one. The problem is, and of course you can all read it as and how you are looking at it, but I just want to show that the couple said that they have paid 40,000 Canadian dollars, okay, over the last 3 years received no updates or refunds. And I'm sure if you were to go through the archives, if you were actually going to look for these informations online, you would see that there are so many places, so many people. And this is just one article of Khalij Times in UAE. I have here and another one. Sorry, just let me. This one is from India. It says Canada, UK to Germany, immigration frauds worth crores unearthed in Punjab's Moga Ludhiana district. Okay, another one where thousands and thousands of rupees have been cheated, and people have cheated or rather scammed. This time it was worth 2.78 crore, big huge amount if you can. If you sort of take it in the context of the matter. And again, people were given fake documentation, people were misled, people were misguided. Of course, police complaints have been done here, but this is happening. Then we have another one. Okay, sorry, just taking these off. This was Indian immigration agent pleads guilty to international student fraud. Now, I'm sure you heard few months back there was this Brijesh Mishra, right? I'm not sure if you've heard of this name, Brijesh Mishra. He was actually arrested in. Sorry about that. And in this case, he issued more than 700 fake immigration letters to the international students, which then, okay, we'll have to get this one off. Hold on. Yeah, so Brijesh Mishra issued more than about 700, actually more than 700 cases were caught in Canada where they were issued with fake admission letters of the colleges. Somehow IRCC then did not verify those letters. Those international students came to Canada. Not only did they complete their studies in different colleges, they eventually got their work permit. They applied for PR. At some point of time in the process, they were identified. And then the inquiry was on more than 2,000 people. It was only that 700 some people came to light as to people who had been caught with this. And the common thread was Brijesh Mishra. Now, for some reason, Brijesh Mishra decided to come to Canada. And then he was apprehended in Canada. And then he has been, this is where it sort of becomes funny. He has been sentenced only for, what does it say, 3 years? That's all. He has been sentenced for 3 years. Sometimes I think it's just too short a period of time to have been given. And yeah, it doesn't really help. Let's go to the next one. Then I have the next one, which is, yeah, this is another one. This one is a Nigerian student and family to be deported from Canada over visa fraud. Now, this is again August 2nd, okay, not too far back. And in this case also, this Nigerian student was issued with a document which was fraudulent. And again, the student was not aware of what was happening. Again, it is the student and the family who is now bearing the brunt of this whole situation. Again, defrauded by individuals who claimed to provide them with the information that was required. This is another one. This is from Pakistan, right? FIA nabs immigration firm owner for defrauding people. Again, plenty of cases here. They defrauded at least 200 people, mostly professionals. 200 people were defrauded. This was in Pakistan. I have another one. This was in Bangladesh, Dhaka Tribune, okay? 45 passengers were grounded over fake wedding invitations. So they were issued wedding invitations. They actually got onto a flight bound for Canada, and then they realized that the visas were fake, the invitation documents were fake, and they were eventually grounded. 45 people. This is from Sri Lanka. This is the High Commission is warning the Sri Lankans about the visa fraud and telling them that these agents are sending out information on WhatsApp and saying that they're posing as the Canadian immigration officials, saying that we are we are the immigration officers, and we will be providing you with the visas, etc. Pay us, etc. And so you're being told that Canadian immigration does not approach anybody through WhatsApp or text messages and tells them to pay money to anybody. So as you can see, this has been going on and on and on. There is even a Facebook group, okay? And this is, I think, Fraud Immigration Consultants in UAE. There are 36,000 members on this group. There is even a full-fledged group where all the people in the UAE have been talking about, all the different immigration frauds that are happening with them. And yeah, so by all means, if you are interested, please join this group as well. So it's got nothing to do with me. I'm not the one who's moderating this group. This group is something which is run by individuals who themselves probably got defrauded in the first place. So there you go. You can imagine, when you have Facebook groups dedicated only to identify the fraudsters in a specific location, then how bad can this be? Obviously, a lot of things are happening, and then therefore, with the fact that there is so much of uproar, there's so much of talk about the LMIA frauds or the immigration frauds, and there is a lot of pressure on the Canadian government as well. And therefore, I mean, though Minister Mark Miller and then Minister Randy as well had come out earlier and said that they are trying to be more stricter with the. So this was the most recent news which has happened. On the 6th of August in Gatineau, they announced, ESDC, Employment and Social Development Canada, and Mr. Randy announced that new measures would be taken to address fraud in Canada's temporary foreign worker program. Now, temporary foreign worker program, for people who don't understand, the difference in temporary foreign worker and the regular work permits are that the regular work permits are issued. When I'm saying regular, I mean the open work permits, like the spouse open work permit, postgraduate work permits, the francophone immigration work permit, the francophone work permit. What else have you got? The bridge open work. These are all issued under the International Mobility Program. Okay, but when you are issued an LMIA, then you are coming under the temporary foreign worker program, because then you're on a closed work permit. Okay, and therefore they have announced. They're looking to announce changes under the temporary foreign worker program. First of all, that they will be enforcing a consistent 20% cap policy for temporary foreign workers. So in any company, if you already have 20% workers as foreign workers, then you will no longer be able to hire, or the maximum number of workers that you will be able to hire as temporary foreign workers would be 20%. And this includes the dual intent substream. A dual intent substream is where the employer is either providing an LMIA to support the PR application, but that LMIA cannot be used for to get a work permit, or if it is a dual intent whereby the LMIA supports the PR application as well as also you can apply for a work permit with that. So this 20% will include both of that. They will apply a stricter and more rigorous oversight in high-risk areas. I do not know what they refer to with the high-risk areas here. And they will also be conducting more inspections. They are increasing, or rather they're considering increasing LMIA fees so that they can pay for the additional integrity and processing activities, something to look forward to. Again here, looking to implement future regulatory changes regarding the employer eligibility. Okay, so for example, how long does the employer have to be in the years of business? Do they have any history of layoffs? Have they been, paying the salaries on time? Are there any labor complaints against the employers? So all of that. But more importantly is this one. Also informed business associations that he is considering right now. This hasn't been implemented. It's considering. It's under discussion. Implementing refusal to process under the low wage stream. Now, this is really, really, really huge. Now, what does this mean? So LMIAs are either high wage LMIAs or low wage LMIAs. And so these two categories are decided based on the median wage of the province or of the area of location. Each location has a specific median wage. And if your LMIA is being proposed under the lower than the median wage of the province, then you would be a low wage LMIA. If it is more than the median wage, then you would be on the high wage LMIA application. So they are now looking to they're considering implementing refusal to process. So they would not even approve. They would not even process low wage LMIA applications. Now this is big because the low wage LMIA applications are largely within the food services sector, accommodation and tourism sectors. You have them under the agriculture sectors. All these industries have that low wage LMIAs. So, and the larger number of LMIAs that are actually issued are also under the low wage LMIA. So if they do finalize this and do implement the refusal to process under the low wage stream, then you can imagine that what an impact this is going to have in terms of the number of LMIs that are out there. So yeah, just be watchful of this one, be aware of this one. And because you will be aware that the government has stopped issuing these LMIs, if somebody is then trying to sell you one, you would know there's something not right with that. Another thing I want to talk to you about as far as these fraudulent activities happen is because you the consumer, you the applicant, you the person who is interested, you're the person who's paying for all of this, you are either looking for an easy way out, you're looking for somebody to make it easy for you to walk around the process, or you are willing to buy yourself to the front of the queue. You want to get a spot in front of the queue. You do not want to wait behind all the people who are actually eligible, but you want to jump to the front of the queue and you're willing to pay. Then always be aware that if you're willing to do all of these, then the chances are that you may be taken for a ride, you may be defrauded, you may bump into a person who will say, okay, I can make this happen for you, and if you pay me all this kind of money. So sometimes the responsibility for the fraud has to be shared by you as well, because if you are the one who is willing to pay for all of this, then don't go out blaming only these fraudsters, because the reason why they commit these frauds is because you are willing to pay for it. The day you stop paying for it, the day you stop getting into these fraudulent activities, these guys who are selling these things, or who have these shops open to sell this stuff, they won't have any consumers, they won't have any customers. What are they going to do? They're going to close the shop. So therefore, this is a shared responsibility, and a lot of you might not like what I'm saying, but that's how it runs. If you are willing to pay for it, then these guys are willing to sell it. If you stop paying for it, they will stop selling it. So therefore, the best way to do it is be more knowledgeable, be more smart in terms of all the information is there on the IRCC website. All the information there is on all the government websites, regardless of which country you wish to immigrate to, which country you wish to travel to. It's just that people are scared of the formalities. Sometimes it's the people around you, or it's the myth around you that is making it scary. The process by itself is not scary. For example, so many times people book a consultation with me and they're asking me, what's the easy way to get a PR? There is no easy way to get a PR. And also it all depends as to how do you define easy. So for example, if somebody with a profile at a score of 550 was going to ask me, what is the easy way to get PR? I would tell him, hey, you have a profile of 550. Your easiest way is just to have an express entry profile. You will get invited and you will get through. Okay. Somebody who's in STEM, somebody who's in healthcare, who has a score of 500 plus says, what's an easy way of getting a PR? Well, you know what? Just have an express entry profile. You'll get invited. Somebody who has an employer who is willing to give them an LMIE or support them, is offering them a senior level position with a NOC category of 000, 1213, they can get 200 points. And they say, what's the easy way of getting a PR? Well, you have an employer who's giving you 200 points. You have an easy way of getting a PR. But in most cases, people who are asking that question, what is the easy way of getting PR, are the ones who basically want it very fast, who do not want to put in the effort, and who are thinking that somebody will be able to show them that secret pathway, secret door, which nobody else knows. First of all, there are no secret pathways. There are no secret hidden doorways to get a Canadian permanent residence. I, for one, have no clue of any secret pathways or secret doors. If I knew it, I would be the first one to announce it on YouTube or Instagram and tell you, hey, this is this new door that I found. If you want to see it, this is where you'll find it. Walk through it and see where it leads it. So there are no easy PR pathways. There are no hidden pathways. There are no hidden doorways. If anybody is promising you any of that, then that is a sure shot way of knowing that somebody is going to defraud you. So be a smart person, be a smart customer. All the information is out there. There are YouTube videos in thousands out there. There is Instagram accounts in thousands out there. Even within these Instagram accounts and videos, you have to be careful who is selling you what. And therefore, always doing your due diligence, always going onto the government website and identifying if somebody is saying this is the program, is that program exists, what is the process, what is the eligibility factors, what are the criterias, and if you are not able to qualify through these criterias, know the fact that this person may not be telling you the truth. That's the best way to identify it. Thank you so much for joining in. That was all I had for today's presentation. Guys, please do not do super chats. I will not be able to answer your questions, all of them. Very quickly, going through your questions. Let's see. My IELTS TRF has English as first official language. Will it be an issue? IETA received under CEC? Absolutely not. Even if your first official language has been listed as English, you still, under normal, for example, if you were an English citizen, if you were a British citizen and your first official language being English, let's say, if that was the case, you still have to appear for an English language proficiency exam to be eligible in Express Entry or most immigration programs. So therefore, it's absolutely not a problem. Vivek says, can we come back to India if we have received OINP and then EE draw, or we have to complete 2 years in Ontario straight after landing in May 24 and now in India due to family reasons? I'm not sure what he's asking, but I'm assuming what you're asking me is that you have received the nomination, you have become a permanent resident. You're asking me, is it necessary to stay in Ontario to comply with your nomination obligations and PR obligations? I think that's what your question is. So first of all, there are two different things. First one is your permanent residence obligations. Your permanent residency obligation is that you must live in Canada for 2 years within a 5-year period. Then there is the nomination. It's not an obligation, it's a moral and an ethical obligation. Nowhere on any government website, on any official website, does it say how long do you need to reside in that province for. However, when you're submitting your applications, you are indicating that you wish to reside in that province, that you would, like to settle in that province. That is the reason the province gives you the nomination. And there comes your ethical and moral responsibility. Now, of course, there can also be situations where the province may conduct an audit, like now Ontario has been conducting and sending out surveys. So that is something which is creating a lot of anxiety amongst people. Saskatchewan is known to be conducting surveys. Alberta has done that in the past. Nova Scotia, Prince Edward Islands, in some cases also even New Brunswick asks you to come and report to their immigration office and let them know where you be living and etc. etc. So they're trying to keep an eye and avoid people who are misusing the PNP route to come to Canada and then not living in the province at all. However, nowhere does it say how long do you need to stay in the province. As long as you have established genuine intention to reside in that province, you should be fine. So to your question, do you have to complete 2 years straight after landing? No, that is not the requirement. The requirement is that you live in Canada for 2 years in a 5-year period. And as long as you're living in Ontario and complying with your intention to reside in that province, then you are fine. Absolutely fine. There is no problem with that. Harsh says, I have 4 years of work experience in India. I included it in study permit. Now on work permit, I will apply for express entry after 1 year experience. I only have reference pay stubs, 5 months bank statements, and it's my father's friend's company. Any other document? I'm not sure exactly what is the concern here. So as long as you're able to genuinely prove that this is work experience that you have been working in, or rather you have that work experience, you have the reference letters, pay stubs, bank statements, income tax returns. If that is the case, then you should be pretty good to go. My consultant email was the primary on my PR. My Portal 1 mail went to him. I sent a new email from mine instead of replying. It's been 17 days. Is this normal? Yes, it's absolutely normal. There are so many cases where though you have sent or you've responded to the Portal 1 email and IRCC takes its own sweet time to respond back. Sometimes it's because of the backlog, sometimes because it is still due to some pending verification checks. But in all cases, it's absolutely normal. This can actually even exceed easily to 40 to 45 days as well. But in your case, if you haven't heard back from IRCC in 2 to 3 weeks time, then reply back to IRCC again or resend that email requesting them for an update on your request. A student applying for postgraduate work permit in Canada can have their spouse extend their visa together or apply separately before the current visa expires. If you are applying for your postgraduate work permit, yes, you can apply for your spouse's open work permit extension as well, provided you are working at the time of the application and you have your employment letter and at least 3 pay stubs. These documents have to be added in your spouse's work permit application in order for your spouse to be eligible to apply for their work permit extension. So you have to be working and you have to provide your 3 pay stubs. That's the requirement. I had study permit and now postgraduate work permit, which will end in 2024. My spouse never came to Canada or had a spouse work permit. Can she apply for study? And I then apply for spouse open work permit? Yes, absolutely. Technically, there is nothing here that stops you from doing it. So your spouse can apply for a study permit and you can apply for an open work permit. However, the study that your spouse will be studying, or the program that your spouse will be studying, has to be a master's degree or an advanced or professional level bachelor's degree, so that you are eligible to get an open work permit. So if your spouse chooses to study only a diploma program, then you will not get a work permit. I have 3 years of experience in NOC. I know it isn't mandatory to meet education requirements in express entry. Is it the same for LMIA or not? Well, for the LMIA, in the LMIA, the employer will indicate the qualifications, experience that is required for the job. So in your case, if you comply with that qualifications and the experience requirements, then you will be fine. So in some cases, the employer may just mention that a bachelor's degree is required. And in some cases, they may indicate Bachelor of Science is required. So in your case, if it says bachelor is required and you have a bachelor's degree, then you're fine. But if the employer has indicated in their advertisement and job requirement that a Bachelor of Science is required and you have a Bachelor of Commerce, then that could be a bit of a hurdle, and officer can choose to have they can choose to have a problem with that. Currently on implied status under fake work permit extension, AOR received applied bridge open work permit. If work permit extension rejected, can I still continue work? Can I get bridge open work permit from border? If your work, so okay, this is what you need to understand. Implied status means two things. Okay, implied status gives you, it allows you to continue staying in Canada, and it gives you the authorization to either work or study depending on your past work permit or study permit. And these come from two different sections of the law. Now, when you're in implied status because of your fake work extension, you have got authorization or approval under both. As an implied status, you can stay in Canada, and then of course you can also continue to work. And then while you're on the implied status, you apply for a bridge open work permit. Okay. Now, what happens is when your first extension gets refused and you are still on the bridge open work permit, your implied status does not continue. What will still happen is, because you applied for the next application while you were still on the implied status, your authorization to continue staying in Canada continues, because you applied for extension, you applied for bridge open work permit while you were still on the implied status. However, your authorization to work, which was on the past work permit extension, now ceases to exist, and therefore you can no longer work. So once your work permit extension has been refused and you already applied for bridge open work permit while you were in implied status, you can no longer work until your bridge open work permit has been approved. And no, you cannot apply for bridge open work permit at the border. 5 years experience in one firm. Guys, do not do super chats. I am not going to be responding to all these guys. Okay, please do not do super chats. That's what I've been saying. Don't do it, please. 5 years experience in one firm, 2 years junior, 3 years analyst, knock code matches, show different knock codes for each position. What are we talking about? Can I make the changes? Yes, you can make the changes to your knock code. You can make changes to your work experience. Mention it correctly in your application. Show it in your personal history. If there is something which is missing out there, there is no problem with. If you're changing the knock code, just add a letter of explanation as to why was the knock code change required here. My AEPR in process. I'm in CA and my dependents in India. I got passport request with my name. I have updated IRCC about my residential status. Will my spouse get a new passport letter with her name on it? Well, first of all, congratulations. The passport request is always issued in the name of the primary applicant. Okay. If it is a portal request, individual applicants get it. But if it's a passport request, the passport request is only issued in the name of the primary applicant. So please use that passport request and have your dependents who are outside Canada to use that passport request and submit their passports to the VFS for passport stamping. They will not be receiving any new or separate passport request with their names. So just you as a primary applicant, your passport request works for them as well. I'm not having ITR, that is fine. Yes, yes, Harsh, having ITR is not a mandatory requirement. Parth says, I have more than 6 months experience in trade category and my hours are not mentioned in pay stubs as they are using online payroll, but my employer is willing to write an explanation letter. Will this work? Yes, it will work as long as your employer indicates how many hours per week you are working, and that employment reference letter is from your employer on the letterhead and indicates all other factors that is required. Then this will absolutely work. No issues here. Rachit says, I applied for postgraduate work permit extension due to passport expiry online. However, website says you should apply on paper. Will it be issues? My work permit has already expired. Okay, so ideally you should be, if you're, so let me explain to you why this happens. So postgraduate work permit extension should be made by paper. The reason for that is because online it does not give you any provision, any option to apply for an extension. There is nothing there. There is no option there. There is nothing for you to choose in the drop down to say why you're applying for postgraduate work permit extension. There is no provision, and therefore you would have to apply through paper. But if you have applied through an online application, which is also fine, as long as you have added a detailed letter of explanation as to why you are applying online and what is the provision under which you are applying, then you shouldn't have a problem. A lot of people have applied online as well, and they have been able to get their work permits extended. So good luck to you on that. I don't think it's going to be a problem. Okay. Nitish says, I've got a Portal 1 request. I was on a study permit till now. Shall I apply for a postgraduate work permit in case I don't get an ECOPR before my final semester is over and therefore I am no longer to work? Well, if your final semester is not over, then how can you apply for a postgraduate work permit, isn't it? I mean, you will not be able to apply for a postgraduate work permit if your studies are not complete. And if you have the Portal 1 request, hopefully you should get your PR, your COPR shortly, and you would be able to complete your application. You will be able to become a PR. And I don't see you will need to apply for postgraduate work permit. But once you complete your studies, you can no longer work. Okay, last question. Once I get notification for OINP Human Capital Tech Draw, but I was not eligible at that time. Now I have. Should I create a new account and new profile, or a new profile and same account is fine? First of all, there is no new account and new profile. You just, if you have received Ontario notification in the past, you were not eligible. So forget about that. Withdraw your Express Entry profile and create a new Express Entry profile. You don't need to create a new account. Just the new Express Entry profile is fine. Withdraw the previous one, create a new one, and hopefully when you become eligible next time, you will get invited. I worked with an organization since 2011 in India and US, and then India, held various titles but with the same roles and responsibilities. Organization is only issuing a reference letter with my first title. How should I create my work history? Well, in this case, it can get very tricky. So what you will need to do is you will need to provide a detailed explanation. You will also need to show in your employment reference letter, they have to say that your job roles and responsibilities were the same throughout your entire tenure. Or you will have to obtain it from your manager, who would say that your jobs or roles and responsibilities were the same throughout your tenure. So please make sure you add same throughout your tenure kind of a phrase somewhere. Otherwise, IRCC can always come back to you and ask you for more detailed job description for each of those titles. It's also a good idea in such situations, if your NOC code hasn't changed, that you can always add your letters of promotion or your letters of change of role or your job title or your performance review, whatever that was. You can add those and add a letter of explanation that this is how you progressed. These are your documentation to prove that you were promoted or your roles or your titles changed, and your roles and responsibilities have remained the same. Your employer has issued this, and also your manager has further emphasized and issued this. That way you will not have a problem. Okay, guys, please do not do these super chats. Okay, this was the last one. I'm eligible for both Ontario Tech and STEM as my points are 499. Currently, the cutoff points for CRS to Ontario Tech is 489. Any suggestions on CRS points, which one to keep? No, I cannot give you that kind of a suggestion because this is a decision you will have to make. If you want, you can stick with 489 and go with that, because this is always going to be, should I choose this? Should I choose this? Am I going to lose out on this? Am I going to lose out on that? And there is no way for me to tell you with absolute certainty if 489 is a better one to go with or 499. There is an expectation of a STEM draw. in IRCC, and with 489 you might miss out on that one, and if you stick with the 499 you will certainly miss out on the Ontario's draw. So this is something which you will have to be very prudent about yourself, and you will have to make that judgment call. I honestly cannot do that for you. Thank you so much, everybody. Thank you for joining in. Hopefully we will do this again next week. Please stay updated. In the meantime, don't forget to share, subscribe, like, and everything else that you do. Stay forever hopeful, and of course, stay away from all these fraudsters. Take care. All the best.